Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Cloud Computing for the C-Suite show with Brad Nelson and internationally recognised and world's #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialists, placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech and AI. In this week's show, David and I will be talking about more and more enterprises are looking to turn some of enterprise applications into a SaaS cloud application. Hi Dave, great to have you on the C-Suite show this week. It's a very interesting topic this week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something near and dear to my heart because I deal with this on a weekly basis. So we're looking forward to discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely. Are most companies looking to build SaaS systems, and are they getting in over their heads? What are your thoughts? I mean, you're really, up to your, as you say, up to your elbows in this one.
Well, I mean, here's the scenario. So they have kind of a killer application that they've been dealing with for years, and their suppliers and their customers are really looking to leverage that application. But of course, it's just an enterprise-based application. It's in their firewall. They don't necessarily have the security systems and the ability to leverage multi-tenants and all these sorts of things to basically externalize it. And so they decide to get into the SaaS business, and they, call me or somebody else like me to talk to them about basically taking this enterprise application, which may be on a LAMP stack, it could be on a mainframe, it could be on some other legacy system, and SaaSify it, basically, or SaaS enable it, the ability to kind of move it into a cloud, have a multi-tenant based systems, and have user accounts and use-based accounting and and governance and security and all these sorts of things you need. And really kind of looking to get into the Salesforce.com or NetSuite business. And that's an interesting thing because my take on it is I can certainly technically enable the enterprise application to be a SaaS system. But the reality is you have certain checklists or basically things you need to kind of understand as you move forward. Number one, can you do product management? Can you do product support? Basically getting into the software business, which is delivered as a service over the web. Can you leverage all of these various things that need to be part of supporting a particular SaaS app? And I think the reality is they don't really understand what they're getting into. So if you're going to get, if you're a tire manufacturer, for example, and you have this great tire wear application, which predicts wear of a tire and the ability to do market analytics and things like that, and your suppliers want a piece of it and some of your customers want a piece of it, and you go ahead and SaaS enable it, suddenly you're going to be a tire company that's in the SaaS business, and you don't necessarily have the capabilities to, be a SaaS player. They provide the support you need and the use case billing and all the other things you need to happen. And people get excited about this because it does add a lot of value to their business. They're able to pull it off. But the buy-in for something like this is about 10 to 20 million bucks, when you at the end of the day. We typically build these on AWS or Google or, our Azure, and they're pretty easy to build. But the reality is this becomes kind of a DevOps thing, ongoing ops thing, ongoing support thing that probably the companies aren't necessarily willing to make happen. So, I'm not saying don't move in this direction, but what I'm saying is you kind of have to go into this with eyes wide open, because you could end up, building something you have trouble supporting and have trouble putting a business case around the support of that application. And it kind of dies in the vine based on the fact that, you're getting poor support to the users. They don't want to leverage it anymore. You can't maintain the application properly. The quality of the application isn't there. People stop using it. And I see that more often than not. And so what the purpose of this article was kind of opening everybody's eyes that, if you're going to go in to a SaaS-enabled application, to the point I made in the article, can you handle the SaaS?
Yeah, it could be some hot pepper sass coming into the mix if you and you'd be up that special creek without a paddle, because you're right. I mean, if users aren't actually using it, and what's the worth of all that investment into creating a platform which people just aren't going to find a user-friendly experience? Because you really do have to create a user-friendly experience when you endeavor to create some sort of SaaS platform that they're going to get benefit and value out of. And also, it brings us on to a topic we've spoken at length about, and that's the security. If we're putting, if the SaaS platform is putting together and use the tire company as say an example, there's the tracking of where the tire's been, what it's done, the conditions it's been in, all the user information. There's value in that, and there's valuable data there that, as an example, I know you've just used, that could cause great problems if you haven't fully got your SaaS developed or up to speed. It can leave it wide open with the speed technology changes that. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I mean, security, governance, the ability to kind of do use-based accounting. I've had people who've gotten into this business who probably shouldn't have been in this business that have sent their customers $1 million bills, things like that, which were incorrect, of course, that they've had to correct, but they lost they basically lost the trust of their customers in doing stuff like that. And the reality is that, this does have value, and you can be in the SaaS business and make a tremendous push on it. And this can be part of your business, because I've seen it, a lot before. But the reality is you have to kind of go in understanding that it's beyond just building the SaaS-based application, which is relatively easy. It's about providing the support, layering security, layering customer service, layering governance, and all these things that people really typically don't think about. And the reality is that, businesses like this are not in the software business and not in the technology business. And it's a tremendously different kind of way of looking at, how we're going to support these particular applications.
When you're building something that's going to be used by, predominantly by the end user, for argument's sake, it's really got to add that value, hasn't it, for it to have the longevity as a product, and certainly for the sustainability of such a massive investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's a $10 to $20 million investment, and you can certainly reap the rewards of the investment. And I'm not discouraging companies from moving in this direction. I understand why they want to do it. It's just you have to kind of do a checklist of things to ensure that you understand what's going to happen as you move into this area. And I've had, companies basically look to do this as a self-funding thing for the first year. They think the money's going to come, start rolling in. The reality is it's going to be, basically a, very subtle ramp up, until they get to profitability. In other words, more money comes in than they're paying out for the particular SaaS solution. And they're frustrated by that. And I think I understand why they're frustrated by that. But, also you just kind of understand that it's kind of a law of physics. And the fact of the matter is that you can build it and your users will come, but you have this certain obligation to build something that's going to be credible and supported and governed and secure, that enterprises typically miss when they start moving this area. And then I also see the companies that half-ass it. In other words, they don't do a good job in putting out the technology. They just go ahead and layer out the technology that at bare minimal viable software as a service solution. And that ends up failing as well, because they need to build on the capabilities. The thing needs to be loved, needs to be developed, needs to be continuously improved. And if the customers don't get that, like they get from Salesforce and NetSuite and the 2,000 other SaaS providers out there, they're going to go ahead and vote with their feet and leave and go do something else, or just leave the application altogether.
Yeah, you're right. It really does open up a whole business vulnerability to embracing a technology when you really just are up to your eyes in it, and you're out of your depth, aren't you? Really.
Yeah, it's something that it's just not thought of, and I kind of wrote the piece because I think it should be thought of, because I am starting to getting those questions from particular vendors out there and particular providers, meaning tire shops and manufacturing organizations and retail organizations and other folks that have some killer application, and typically it's a good application that does something that's going to be of value even outside the enterprise. But if you're going to get into the SaaS business, you can't be half pregnant, and you have to basically push out into the business with all this capabilities that may be kind of an unnatural act, for you if you're a manufacturing organization or a service organization or something where software is not necessarily in your wheelhouse. But if you don't do that, you're going to be unsuccessful. And I'd rather you be not trying something and successful versus trying something and fall flat on your face.
Yep, exactly. Try fast, fail fast. But essentially try and keep the cost down.
Yeah, and it's something that that enterprises are dealing with these days. And by the way, I've seen a few enterprises that have externalized SaaS applications. In one case, I had a $1 billion kind of which is a small company here in the States, that actually became 3 times their value based on a SaaS-based system that they were leveraging. And so they got additional funding to build it, and they spun it out into another company, and that company went public, and everybody got a taste of what was going on. And those sorts of success stories are out there. But those folks were very, I guess, understanding of what was required to make the application successful. And so they hired a product manager. They hired someone from another SaaS provider to basically run the application. They hired me to do the architecture. They hired the best of the best in terms of how you're going to make the things things successful. And God bless them, they spent $25 million to get to their first dollar, but they added almost $1 billion to the company's value, and that's a success story. So they were an exception to the rule, not necessarily what I typically see out there, into understanding what was required of them and actually to make this thing happen. So if you have an application that you think has value, so what I would do is basically write a marketing plan in terms of how you're going to take it into the market, who's going to use it, what they're going to pay for it, in essence, how you're going to run it, what it's going to cost you the migration into a SaaS-based system, the re-architecture, multi-tenant enablement, and things like that. And then figure out via the board of directors if this is something that you're willing to do. However, I urge you to present the full cost of what it takes to make this happen, because if you don't understand exactly, everything that's involved in moving in this direction, then you're going to fail, not necessarily because you failed in terms of the market not being there and the application not doing what it needs, but you not setting the proper expectations. And I think that was the core to this piece.
It's a very good piece, and what I'll do is I will put a link to this in the subject box below so people can click on that link and have a read of it. So thanks, Dave. Thanks for another great week of the C-Suite show, as always.
No worries, man. Go do your SaaS. Just do it right.
Don't get sassy, people. Don't get too sassy. You might come up short. Well, look, thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this week's C-Suite show. And please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on forthcoming shows. And also look back on the shows that David and I have done previously as well. You can reach David on Twitter, which is @David Linthicum, and myself, which is @Nelson_Hilliard. Thanks again for watching, everyone.